as we prepare to go outside and plein air paint, some of you are experienced, some of you are not, but I want to talk about the thing that happens is the feeling of overwhelm. We get out there and we're seeing, every bird, every leaf, every airplane in the sky, you don't have to go out there and paint all that. In fact, it's better that you don't. So this is an example of a painting that I did, painting in plein air at a plein air event locally. And it was in someone's private garden. It was a very hot day. So there I decided to go ahead and tone my canvas with just a warm yellow. And my intent was to let that yellow, a little bits of it show through all the way through. But as I was working, and this is typically how I start, I kind of work all over the canvas. This says everything I wanted it to say. I don't need to render leaves. I don't need to render the roses any further. That's what I really liked about this. And I think that's a big part of what I like about painting in plein air is there's this mix of using what's in front of you as a jumping off point to create your own individual reaction, your artistic reaction to what you see in front of you. That's what I love about it. And here's why. Here's why. Let's turn this around. So can you all see? Can you see? Okay. So what we have here in this painting is a triad. I'm going to step out of the way here. It's the triangle. We have yellow, orange, and then we have red, violet. Way here, let y'all see. So we have our blue greens. The triad is the triangle. We have yellow, orange, and then we have red violets. But in the beginning, or if you just want to make sure that you don't waste paint by mixing wrong colors, it's a good idea to break out your color wheel. So in this class, we're going to discover ways through a series of little small studies. We're going to experiment with ways of applying a color plan or analogous color scheme. So I also brought this painting today as an example of an analogous color scheme. So I'm your color wheel again, because I felt like I could do that and wanted to do that because of the calming, quiet color scheme that I use, the analogous colors. But I just use those same colors to create some interesting areas of brushwork because like a little bit of eye candy, a little bit, something of a little bit of interest for people's eye to travel around. But the other thing I do with it is as I'm mixing, sometimes if I want to remember the color, maybe I mix it, yeah, that's the color that worked here. I'm going to take a little bit of it. I'm going to make a color chart that I use these for. It's a great idea, right? I learned this from a friend. I can't take credit for it. Is if you're painting buildings, if you're painting something where you need an absolute straight edge, if you have just a nice heavy piece of paper that you can, I want my water line here. So you painted a painting, everybody's finished their painting or at least pretty well done. So one of the most important things to be able to do as an artist is to step back and critique your own work. And that's important for growth. When I first started plein air painting, I would go, hope for the best, right? Like look at them and think, hope I got a good one. And when I started coming back home and getting out a notebook and a pencil and spending a good amount of time just looking and evaluating my own work, my work grew very, very quickly. Harsh on yourself. The one thing you don't want to say is, I just hate it. I don't love it. I don't like it. You got to come up with whys, or that's not a valid comment, right? So how do we critique our work? Well, there's a list, and we're going to go through it one by one, and not what we're going to do, but we're going to look at that work with a critical eye. Not only are we going to look at what could be better, but we're going to also talk about what you did right and what you make sure you want to keep, and maybe carry that over into your next work and the next work. So we're going to build on what's good, and we're going to stop you in your tracks from going any further with what was maybe a bad decision. Sound good? Yeah. Do any of you have any questions?
Yeah, so one of the things that I always have a problem with is if I have a piece, how do I really get figure out what makes sense as far as how I design it, how I kind of do the composition so it's the best it can be. Because it's always feel like it's not, either things are too high or too low, or something's off where I don't have everything, like the subjects quite where they really need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is a great question. I'm really glad that you asked it, Lee, because that's something that a lot of people struggle with. So I want to start off by saying that you're the designer, okay? So if you think about design as an umbrella, and everything else falls under that design, including composition. So what you're talking about is both composition and design. So a good rule of thumb is to start with as few shapes as you can. So my goal